Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working a dress from the princess inspired Once Upon a Princess capsule, and I am super excited. I love these dresses. I love the taking the inspiration from the princesses and doing these beautiful dresses. Today we're going to be working on Snow White, and so before I get started though, let me remind you about our fun giveaway of $50 Ellie and Maggie certificate, and all you have to do is subscribe to our channel and comment below and you will be entered for that giveaway. We do monthly, so go ahead and subscribe and comment below. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I already cut out my patterns. Now I cut out the bodice portion of the Sitting Pretty top, and then I cut out the bottom, the skirt of the School Cool dress. And the only difference that I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you right now what I'm going to do, is that the bodice, I'm going to cut it, even though I already cut it the length that I shouldn't have cut it because I totally didn't even think about it. But I'm going to show you right now so you can think about it and you don't make the same mistake I made. The bodice of the actual top is going to be shortened to the length of the School Cool bodice length, because obviously you want the bodice to hit at the middle of the waist, at the waist, and then the skirt comes after that. You don't want the bodice to be as long as the top, the regular length of the Sitting Pretty top. So what I did was I have my pattern piece for my School Cool, the same size that I need, and then I'm gonna tilt you down and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so here's my Sitting Pretty top, my back and my front. And like I said, I cut it because I wasn't thinking. I cut it the length of the actual top. So what I need to do is I'm gonna grab my School Cool and see right here, match it at the armpit side and make it the length of the School Cool bodice. And I'm gonna do the same for the back. So that was my, I'm sorry, for the front. That was my back. This is my front. Here's the length. So now that I've got the length, then when I go to attach the skirt, it will all even out. Okay, so let's put that aside. And the first thing we're gonna work on is our little attachments on the sleeve. Okay, so if you see the snowman in the a Snow White snowman, the Snow White inspired princess dress, you will see that there's these red little shapes on the sleeve. Okay, and there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can use vinyl to put them on, or you could use even if you wanted to use some fabric, some red fabric, and do them on. So like if you wanted to do, what I did is we just went ahead, and obviously if you can look real closely, my shapes are not very even, but if you wanted to use a ruler and draw the shapes onto either, this is vinyl right here, this is heat transfer vinyl, HTV vinyl, and this I can iron right onto my sleeve, or you could even cut it out of fabric and just go on your sewing machine. You can either do like fabric glue and glue it on, which would work great, or you can go ahead and put it on your sleeve and then sew around the whole thing to attach. And I'm going to show you how to attach. I think that's what I'm going to do for my Rapunzel dress, so you can see how to do that. But for this one, I was going to use heat transfer so you can see how to do that. So what I did is I went to my, I grabbed my heat transfer sheet, got a sheet from the store. Actually, this one I got from online, but you can get it at the store. And heat transfer is got 2 layers, and I'm going to peel it open so you can see. It's got the layer with the let me open it, come on. It's got the layer of the actual heat transfer, and then it's got a protective clear layer on it. And when I tear it apart, you'll be able to see it, but right now I'm having a hard time. You know how that goes. Okay, so here it is. And what you do is when you're using your Cricut machine or whatever, you're gonna cut on this side And then this side is gonna be the part that you're gonna right on top so you can glue it on, okay? Not glue it, but you know, stick it to your fabric. So what I did is on a piece of paper, I just kind of cut out the shape of what I wanted it to look like. And yes, you can do a little bit better than I did. Mine is kind of crooked. You can use a ruler and get it all nice and even. And then I cut out the shapes. For the middle one, I did a bigger side, and then the side ones I did a little bit smaller per Katie's instructions. So I just follow her instructions. And now we're gonna go ahead, and if you're using heat transfer, you're gonna look and see which one is your right side. Usually, sometimes they're really easy to tell, but on these ones, this vinyl is a little bit different than what I'm used to using. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it, and I'm going to place a piece of cloth right on top of it. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use my piece that I already got out, and we're gonna do this on the sleeve before we put it together, because we want to make sure that it is that it's on, because it'll be easier to do now than it will be once we attach it to our dress. All right, so I moved on to my ironing board, which is the safest place to do it, and I am making sure there's a lot of heat on it. Some vinyl heat press, you can do it straight to the vinyl and you don't need a protective layer. Some you do. So just be careful that if you need a protective layer, you put a protective layer like I showed you, some cloth, and then that you apply enough heat. There are heat presses out there that you can buy that you can put on that give it a better bond, so it'll stay on for long time to come. Once it's done, you just peel that protective layer off, and you've got your little shapes on your shoulder. Now, if they ever start to kind of come off, if you're like, oh no, they're peeling off, you can steam them from the back, or you can also put something on top and do it again. Just do that protective layer on it and then do it a little bit better. You might have to do that like after you wash it a couple times and it tries to peel off, but it works out great. It shouldn't be too bad for you. And there it is. All right, so now that it's done, we're gonna go ahead and move on to actually putting our pattern together. All right, so now that we've got our sleeves decorated, we can move on to put our pattern actually together. So we're gonna start by grabbing our back and front bodice, which has been shortened to be the length of the school cool bodice. And we're gonna grab our front and we're gonna put it right on top of each other, meeting at the shoulder seams. So we're gonna meet those shoulder seams to create the bodice. So we're gonna go ahead and pin, and then we're gonna sew those shoulder seams. I'm going to be using my serger, but if you don't have a serger and you just do a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, it will be perfect. So let's sew those shoulder seams together. Once those shoulder seams are done, we're gonna move that a little bit aside, and we're gonna work on our collar. So we're gonna grab one of our colors, and I am using cotton lycra for these dresses. Well, for this particular dress. So I'm using the white cotton lycra for the color, and I'm using blue cotton lycra, like a royal blue cotton lycra for the bodice, and I'm going to be using yellow for the skirt. So beautiful. So I'm gonna grab my neck piece. So here's my back of my neck piece, and then I have my two fronts, and I'm gonna put it right sides together, the front right at the raw edge, and I'm gonna see that scallop coming up, and here's my little pointy area going up towards the inside of the neck, and then right sides together. Again, oh, that was the wrong side. That was not right side. I'm like, that does not look right. Now, if you're struggling to see what the right side of your fabric is, usually, especially with cotton lycra, if you look at the cotton lycra and you split it open, you can see the lines of the grain line better on the right side. The wrong side is kind of fuzzy, so you can know that that's the right side where you can see those lines a little bit better. So that's how I can tell which one's my wrong and my right side. So I'm putting them right on top of each other. I'm going to show you in just a minute what it looks like facing each other. And I'm going to sew these two raw edges right here to meet that color. And I'm going to do the same thing for my liner. So I'm going to do the same thing for my outer and my liner. Now, some people have found that they like to put a little bit of interfacing in between the two layers. So if you wanted to do that, you can go ahead and put a little bit of interfacing, knit interfacing on the outside, all the way around the collar on the wrong side of the color. But I'm not doing that. All right, so now once those necks are sewn together, you can go ahead and steam those seams and we're gonna put them right sides together, matching the raw edges of the collar together, matching those seams, matching them both up, right sides together. Now, on this one, outer and liner are the same because I'm just using white to make the white color. And I'm going to pin the outer edge. The outer edge is what we're going to sew. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around the whole collar, starting at the front, all the way around the outer edge. Okay, now to do this, you can use your sewing machine or you can use your serger. If you use your sewing machine, it can give you a cleaner line, and then you can go in with pin and scissors and just cut all the way around, so when you turn it, the seam is not so bulky. I like to go ahead and use my serger. I don't have an issue with that, but then if you want your rounds to be really, really nice and crisp, sometimes it's easier to do it on a sewing machine. So this part is up to you, but I'm going to do that on a serger. So if you're doing it on a serger, just like I am, we're gonna start at the collar and we're gonna go put it down and go all the way around. And like I said, it's easier on a sewing machine because in a serger, you kind of pull it around as you're going around, making sure your seams are lined up. And I'm going all the way around that neck. Again, this is the outer part of the collar. Make sure that it's not catching underneath or anything as I'm going around. All the way around. Here's the moment of truth. Let's see what it turned out like when you turn it around. Like I said, if you're doing it with a sewing machine, you can go ahead and pin those corners and everything. That way it comes out nice and sharp when you're doing it. If you're doing it like I am, you're gonna need a tool or something to help you turn it and kind of even out those edges. So I'm just going around and kind of pushing at the corner, at the seam, to make it more rounded, to make sure that they're all straight all the way around. And then I'm gonna use my iron and steam it nice and flat. Just go all the way around. And it wasn't that bad. See, it still has the shape. I just know that some people like to do it with the sewing machine because it gives you a sharper edge. And that's fine if you want a sharper edge. That's what you should do. Okay? So as you can see, my color is prepped to sew onto my top. So I'm gonna grab my top and I'm gonna put it wrong side up. I'm gonna grab first at the shoulders and go to the back. And what I like to do is I like to take a little clip and take a little piece of fabric. You won't be able to even see it once you sew it on, but it's just enough to show me where it's at. And then I'm gonna go to the front and do the exact same thing to find that front seam. Okay, and then I'm gonna lay it out, make sure which one's the front and which one's the back, and you can tell because the front goes lower than the back. I'm gonna open it. Make sure once again, because I didn't really look. So that's my front on that side. Then I'm gonna grab my collar and I'm gonna meet those two side seams together and I'm gonna go to the back and mark that back. And what we're gonna do is where I mark that back, that's gonna go right on the back mark. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna put the wrong sides touching, because then when you flip it and you see the right side of the fabric, you're gonna see that right side of the color. So we're attaching right here, wrong sides together at the back. Then we're gonna match those seams, and I'm gonna remove some of that. I'm gonna sew them on so I can just go ahead and remove those tails because they're kind of getting in my way, kind of annoying me. So I'm just gonna snip them off. Match those shoulder seams. And then when we get to the front, we're going to overlap the color right here, 3/8 of an inch first. We're gonna overlap them, as you can see. I'm gonna pin them overlapped. And then what I'm going to do before I go to sew my neck on, I'm going to go ahead and baste these two together. Might have to do a better job at pinning them. Okay, so I'm gonna go on my sewing machine and baste together right here, so that way when I go to sew my neckline on, it doesn't move out of the way and end up having a gap right there between the color. So I'm gonna baste those two right there with my sewing machine, and then I'm gonna go and sew all the way around with a stretch stitch around the neckline. All right, so I used a basting stitch on my sewing machine. As you can see, it's just a long stitch to keep those two from moving away from each other. And now I'm gonna go on my serger, and we're going to sew all the way around that neck. As you can see, I sandwiched them together, and I'm gonna go ahead and just sew all the way around the whole neckline, all the way around, catching that color at the front as well. All right, so I've sewn my neck on, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and make sure you remove those pins. And you can remove that basting stitch now because it was only there for when you sewed it on. Make sure it was good and even. Then you can flip that color right side out onto the front. And you want to steam it really nice and flat. If you wanted to go around the color and top stitch so it stays down flat, you can do that. Or you can even, what I've done before is if you didn't want to top stitch the whole thing and you just wanted to kind of top stitch right here at the front, do like a little top stitch right there, you can. But look, our color is done. And this, I might have to go in and kind of pull at it a little bit more. There we go. Whoop. So that is done. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and attach our sleeves. How cute is this gonna be? So I'm gonna open where my arm side is, and I'm gonna grab my one sleeve. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it in half, and we're gonna find that seam at the top where my middle is. So here's my middle, and I'm gonna notch again because that's just what I like to do. Okay, right there. And I'm gonna put that notch right at that shoulder seam area, right there. Okay, as you can see, here's my little notch, and that's the seam right there. And you're gonna pin it right to the seam. Now, make sure your color is gonna be right there, so you wanna kind of move your color out of the way when you're gonna attach your sleeve so it doesn't get cut. And we're gonna go down the whole side and pin all the way to the bottom. To one side. And make sure that raw edge, those raw edges are touching, and they're going to be sewn together right there. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing going the other way. I'm gonna pull it a little bit and go all the way around. All the way down. And we're gonna do this for both sleeves. So now I'm gonna go ahead with my serger and sew that sleeve together all the way around. Okay, so I'm grabbing my sleeve, putting it on there, making sure both of my sides are on and that my seams are matching. I mean my raw edges. And I'm gonna go all the way around to the middle first. And then once I get to the middle, I'm gonna keep going all the way down, all the way to the end. And I'm gonna do that for both sleeves. I am so excited because we're getting towards the end and it's looking fabulous. So now that my sleeve is on, as you can already tell it's a Snow White inspired because of the look. I'm gonna steam those seams because steaming the seams always gives it a better, flatter, prettier look. So now I'm gonna lay my sleeve down. We're gonna fold the two raw edges over here at the end and go to the back, the top, and I'm gonna mark it because we're gonna go ahead and put on the band. And this is going to give it, this band, you'll see it's shorter than my actual, if you can see right there, than my actual sleeve, which is gonna give it like this blousey look. So gorgeous. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our band and we're gonna fold it wrong sides together at the middle. My mat keeps going farther and farther away. Okay, so now once it is folded right down the middle, we're gonna fold it again and we're gonna find our half point. Again, notching it, because that's what I like to do. Once we notch it, then we're gonna match up that raw edge to the little mark we already made over here. We match those marks and we pin, and then we pull it to the side and we pin right here at the side, at the end. And we're gonna pin also at the beginning. So when I go to sew it, if you're going to be using a sewing machine, I recommend leaving that pin at the corner and kind of help you pull up as you're going, because you're going to grab and stretch that band so it will fit into that sleeve. So we're going to go ahead and sew that together by stretching, and that will blouse the sleeve and make it so beautiful. All right, so I'll start by putting that first seam, the first edge in there. And I like to have my band face up when I start. And I just barely clip just a tiny bit that it catched on, and when I pull, it won't come apart. I grab where my middle pin is and I pull it to even it out, and I sew it together till I get to that pin. Oh, I almost caught it, but my knife, that would not have been good. And then I do the same thing to the other end. And you see when you open it up that you have that blousing-like effect on your sleeve. How beautiful. And how beautiful is this gonna look once we're all finished? All right, so now once I finish that, I'm gonna go ahead and steam it. Again, there's just something about steaming that gives everything such a better look. And a look at that, looking super cute. Tell me it's not the cutest thing ever. And now we're gonna fold right sides together, and we're going to sew those side seams right here, catching at the sleeve, catching the middle section, the seam, and then all the way down. So sew that side seam. We're gonna sew both side seams together. I like to clip the seams the serger tails off, because then I am gonna catch these seams, so they get caught right there anyway. But I don't want it to get trapped in, and then you can see it from the inside, and then you have to worry about it. So I just go ahead and clip them before I even get to it. And so we're gonna match these side seams and sew the whole thing for both sides. All right, so now that my sides are sewn together, sometimes you can see I have a tail hanging out. What I want to do is I want to grab that tail and I fold it right over that seam and then zigzag stitch right on top of it. Just do a zigzag stitch right on top of that seam and catching that thread. And that is how I hide my tails. You just cut the end of it and trim, and you can kind of see right there where my zigzag stitch is, but if you open it, it's no longer there. Okay, so now our bodice is done. Cutest little Snow White inspired bodice is finished. Okay, now we're gonna attach our skirt. Now, before I attach my skirt though, I wanna grab my skirt, and what I wanna do is I want to go ahead and hem it. You can hem it by doing a rolled hem. You can do just on your sewing machine, double needle, stretch stitch, whatever you wanna do. You have a 1/2 inch allowance. So I'm going 1/2 inch and I'm steaming all the way around, and I am going to use my cover stitch. Now, as I'm steaming all the way around, because this is a circle skirt, what I like to do is I like to grab my skirt, put it down, fold it at 1/2 inch, and then kind of pull the fabric as I'm going to make it go around in a rounded hem fashion. Okay. And that goes all the way around. I know it kind of looks kind of winky, but if you look at it and then you sew it, it looks great. Okay, so you can go ahead and hem, but I'm gonna show you how we're gonna go ahead and put it together. So first off, we gotta mark our skirts, our quarters, so we can mark our quarters, or we can go ahead and fold again, like it was on the fold already, double fold. And we're gonna go ahead and clip and clip, and now we have front and sides, front, back, and sides. If you open it, it's clip, clip, those are the sides, match the two clips together, and the front and the back are right here on the side. So front and back and sides. If you know, I didn't show you on the video how to cut a skirt on the double fold, one of these skirts. So if you want to know how to cut that and you don't remember how to do it, or you don't know how to do it, you can check out our other video for our Aurora inspired dress. And I showed you on that video how to cut on the double fold. So you can go ahead and check that one out. So now that I have my skirt quartered, I'm gonna grab my bodice. Now I have my sides already, but I need my front and my back. So I'm going to go ahead and grab and match those two sides together and go to the front and then go to the back. And that is how I'm going to mark my front and my back. Then I'm gonna go ahead and open my skirt, my shirt. Again, I'm going to clip those sides because they're gonna get caught in there, so it'll be good. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna turn my skirt inside out and fit my bodice right in my skirt. Right sides touching. So the right side of my skirt is touching the right side of my bodice. And now we're gonna match up those quarter points. As you can see, I'm matching up the front, turn. Here's that mark I made and a side seam. Then we're going to the front seam, mark I made, and the front. And then the other mark I made on the side. And then that means we're matching up those raw edges, right sides together. So when I go to sew, I'm just gonna just pull a little bit to even them out, and sew all the way around the whole thing to catch the bodice and the top, and we'll be done. So let's go do that. All right, so once your bodice is attached and you have hemmed, you have yourself your beautiful Snow White inspired dress. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did on this sewing tutorial. Please check out our other princess inspired videos. Check out our Facebook or Instagram page so we can see what you're making and you can see what we're making. This would be a beautiful dress even if it's not princess inspired. If you made it with other different colors, it's super, super beautiful. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Subscribe, comment, like, share, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.